Now, going over to the Culture Pride podcast, you have the New York Times saying that the Constitution is dangerous, which, yeah, quite concerning, although these days, not too surprising, since that's pretty much all the mainstream media ever says these days. Now, this is really going viral on the good old X Twitter by a couple folks. One of the first people I saw from was from Zero Hanj, and they say, quote, "This appears to be a pattern. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different publications, or, publications from the New York Times. These are the screenshots of the actual top title. Doesn't zoom in too well on this screen. I apologize about that. But one of the headlines says, quote, "The Constitution is sacred. Is it also dangerous? One of the biggest threats to Americans' politics might be the country's founding document." George Orwell, what we're alive, you'd be pretty disappointed about how far the world has crumbled into dystopian nightmare. Other headlines say, quote, "Is the Constitution obstructing American democracy?" Another New York Times headline says, quote, "Let's give up the Constitution" by Louis Michael Seidman. Another headline says, "U.S. lacks what every democracy needs." Another one says, "This is the story of how Lincoln broke the U.S. Constitution." Another one says, "The Constitution won't save us from Trump." Another one says, we had to force the Constitution to American democracy, and it shows." I don't know how mentally vacuous this person is, but this one comes from David French at the New York Times. So again, these are opinion pieces. And he says, quote, "MAGA turns against the Constitution," unquote. Which is hilariously ironic when you look at the rhetoric and also the beliefs of the different political affiliations. Well, one actually got caught conspiring with big tech to censor hundreds of millions of Americans. That same time wants to confiscate guns. Kamala literally said when campaigning, if the government doesn't pass a law in the first 100 days, you just take guns away with executive order. Usually the cliche de facto ban, which is a forced buyback, which again, that is a ban, and also taking your property without due process, pretty mentally vacuous and disgusting to say the least. And yeah, the other side that mainly just wants to be left the hell alone. I can't help but think, when's the last time? And again, there are people on both sides who do aspire, think crazy things. But in terms of the mass, I don't think the common opinion on the right is destroying the Constitution. I think many of them, actually hold that sacred document to heart. So I'm not sure what Mr. David French is really thinking about there. And I mean, pretty interesting that all this is bubbling to the surface. It is election year, emotions are high, and I mean, it's kind of cliche to say. It seems to be something we say every time there's an election, but I mean, this election matters now more than ever. And well, that's what moderately viral got about 300,000 views. And yet another friendly reminder to click that subscribe button. When I first started the show, my speaking was terrible. I spoke very fast, mostly monotone, really didn't articulate much, and I stumbled over most of my words like Joe Biden trying to walk upstairs. However, as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, my speaking has improved. My theory is the more subscribers I gain, the better I'll be able to speak, to get to the point where someday we'll go through an entire episode without a single speaking mishap. I know it's a tall order, and some might argue it just had a modicum of improvement. However, I think it's a improvement nevertheless. So if you can click that button and feel that theory, I would greatly appreciate it. And again, we might someday go through a whole episode with perfect speaking articulation. Someday, a man can dream. Now, I go down to the comments. That got 6,000 likes. One of the first comments comes from Cass Loren, says, quote, "Who gives all the fake news networks their headlines all at the same time?" Getting 17 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, "They hate the Constitution because they hate America." Getting 6 likes. Jared Marsh says this: "If you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes," instead of truth, it says journalism. Getting 116 likes. True. Scrolling down more and more. Kamala Jones, not a fan of Kamala. That's her actual profile name, which is kind of funny. She says, quote, "If it wasn't for the Constitution, we'd be speaking Chinese, living in like Venezuelans, trying to outrun nukes." And it says, "Who's a major shareholder of the New York Times?" is BlackRock at 8.46%, having, it looks like 13,841,917 shares of the stock. I got 15 likes. Tim IFAP says, "All stream media is propaganda," getting 54 likes. Brian O'Brien says, "The Constitution is an obstacle to implementing the globalist agenda," getting 45, so I get 46 likes. Nicholas Mugail says, "The overthrow of the American Constitution," getting 16 likes. Spitfire says, I want to see the actual memo that went out," getting 67 likes, and reminiscent of Operation Mockingbird. Going down more and more. Wizard of Oz says, "They want to end the great country of the United States," getting 15 likes. Let's see. Any contrarian statements? Because again, there are people, I wouldn't consider them Americans, but there are people who live in America who do not believe in the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. They don't believe everyone should have equal opportunity, God-given rights, like the freedom of speech or the Second Amendment and peacefully assemble. It's quite concerning. Do one more. Ian Murakat says the threat of tyranny is very real, and Kamala is the tool that the blob is using. The CIA and the other intelligence agencies are twisting the election to their advantage, getting 3 likes. Which, I mean, just lawfare alone against Trump. I mean, we've never seen a single presidential candidate have so many lawsuits against him. And again, something that woke up a lot of my friends was a lot of lawsuits against Trump were a lot of the actions he did were exactly the same as the competition. I mean, such as Biden as well as Obama, and yet only Trump's being prosecuted. So it's quite concerning. And culturally speaking, I like to think over 50% of people in the U.S. believe in freedom of speech and Bill of Rights, Constitution. I'm getting skeptical these days. Granted, I mean, there's always a bias in terms of social media. Usually, people speaking on it are one of the ones that are more outspoken on average. So I do think that most people are still in favor of the Bill of Rights, Constitution. But let me know. Do you think? Am I just being foolishly optimistic? Do you think most people, on average these days in the United States, what do you think that that needle is in terms of? Do you think 70% people believe in Bill of Rights, 80, 90%, or do you think it's closer to 10, 20, 30%? Let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I really appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.